So one and all, thanks for tuning in. In today's video, I'm going to show all of you how to assemble a complete inline skates from the very single piece until you got a full complete inline skate ready to go out there and have fun on your wheels. In order to assemble your skates, you're going to need a bunch of equipment, and I'm just going to go through it piece by piece. You're going to need the wheels, then you will need the frames, you're going to need the boots, and then you need some bearings in order to make your wheels spin. In between the bearings, you would have to place some spacers. And in order to mount those on your frames, you're going to need these through axles. And finally, in order to actually attach the frame to the boot, you will need these bolts. When you purchase your stuff, I can guarantee you if you purchase it at topskate.dk, all of this is going to be in your package. Step 1 is to mount the frame on your boot. This is not the most difficult part, but you still gotta make sure to find these mounting slots in order to put on your frame correctly. There's a lot of debate going on to where you should position your frame, and it's very individual from skater to skater. And that's why we always recommend people to try and adjust it so it's placed right in the middle. Then afterwards, you can always guide yourself with tape and then try and move it a bit inwards if you have a tendency to falling to the inside, and likewise if you have a tendency to falling to the outside, you can try and move it that way. But at first, go for a centered position. I'm just going to show you how to actually mount it. For this you would need the bolts, as well as a hex key. Before you start mounting the frame, make sure that you're mounting it in the correct position, because as you can notice here, you can see that the frame is a bit higher to the rear end of it, and it's a bit lower at the front. Therefore, we can't just switch it, it has to be mounted in the correct sense. The easy way to do it is to at first try and position this so it goes through the frame. Once we got that, try and hold the wrench, and this is where we can position the boot on top. Try and find the slot, and then we just screw it in. Don't do it too firmly just yet, because that way we can still move it around until we found a neutral position. Also, it's going to be a bit easier to find the slot at the rear end, especially because they can move. So usually you would find that the boot has the capacity to move backwards and forwards, whereas the frame has the capacity to move from side to side, which is pretty smart. So now I got it placed just above. I'm just gonna tilt this in here, try and find the slot. And then when I got it, I'll take my key and I'm gently gonna screw it until we find a somewhat tight hold here, as you can see. And then instead of just tightening one of the two bolts until you can't tighten anymore, just go gradually, tighten the upper one a bit, and then go back to the other one. So you're doing it sort of simultaneously. That way there's not going to be any tensions twisting your frame, and you won't risk anything by doing that. Okay, so now it seems like I got them both mounted somewhat in the middle of it, and I'll just double tighten because you definitely don't want this to go loose when you're out skating. And it seems to be good. Step number 2 is to mount the bearings inside your wheels. A set of bearings usually contains 16 pieces, so there's just enough to put 2 in each wheel if you're using a 8-wheel or 4-wheel frame. So we're gonna take two bearings out here. At first we mount a bearing, just gently squeeze it in here. Usually it doesn't take too much force to get it in there. And then we place the spacer inside. Make sure that it lays flat so that you're capable of putting the other bearing in smoothly. As you can see here, it's in and it spins. You're just gonna have to repeat this process, which I'll do now for the next 4 wheels or next 3 wheels, in order to show you how a complete skate's gonna look at the end. So now that we got all 4 wheels with the bearings and the spacers mounted in the middle, we're ready to put them on the skate, which is step number 3. This should be pretty simple. They usually slide in quite easily, and that is where we'll need the axes. So a good piece of advice here before we get started with that is that you should exchange these and renew them quite regularly, because if they're too old and they don't really have the edges up here anymore, it can be a lot of trouble to get them out again. So make sure that they always have a firm grip, or if they don't, switch them out for new ones. So we're just gonna place that through, tighten them. Don't over tighten them, but make sure they stay in place once they're tightened. I'll repeat the process for all 4 wheels. And we now got a complete inline skate ready to go out and skate. Thank you so much for watching this. I hope you could use this video. If you liked it and if you want to see more of our Top Skate content, make sure to subscribe to the channel and also check out our videos. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Victor Heltharp, and we look forward to seeing you again.